everybody. Let's run through today's injury news as of 11:45 a.m. Eastern. We've got a couple quick updates. Looks like Luke Cornett is out tonight. But we'll just run through it team by team. Almost every team plays today, so this should be a good indicator of how many minutes we're looking at for each player coming up in this next game week. Starting with the Lakers, Doncic questionable. That's a shock to me. I can't believe he would be back tonight. If he took off, flew halfway around the world, and stayed for 5 minutes and then got right back on a plane and came back, that seems unlikely. I think he probably misses again tonight. They are in Boston. Projected minutes look like this. Obviously, if Luka doesn't play, you've got 37 minutes to go around. LeBron, I heard some talk, is he going to play the second of this back-to-back? He's coming off one of the worst games of his career. Shot 4 of 17 last night. Didn't even score 10 points. First time in thousands of games that he hasn't scored at least 10 points. He's got to be pissed. I'm sure he's back in there tonight and probably pretty motivated to do a little better than he did last night. 34 minutes for LeBron. If we're looking at who steps up without Luka, it's been more minutes for Jared Vanderbilt, surprisingly. Obviously not the same position. They just run different lineups. Jake LaRavia's minutes up. Nick Smith even getting a little time. Production-wise, though, that usage goes to Austin Reeves. Huge game last night without Luka and with LeBron struggling. 23 points more in the 4 games that Luka's missed this season for Reeves. He's really taken a step this year. You can absolutely play him anytime, but definitely tonight. And this LeBron number is just that one game yesterday where he was terrible. So I don't think you want to put a ton of stock in the negative 0.9. He's definitely a play as well. Off of the Heat, Hero is now doubtful, and that means he's not projecting any minutes. So we should have accurate numbers here for the Heat. Wiggins, Bam, and Davion all over 30. Larson slips into the starting lineup with Hero out. He becomes a decent play. 22 L10, so a little higher than we'd like. But since Hero missed so many games early in the season, we have a pretty good idea who plays when he does not. Jovic has been pretty much out of the rotation since Hero came back. But maybe he gets back in there and gets some run. Still a guy I have hopes for, although this season's been a big disappointment. Jaquez was the main guy early in the year with Hero out. I think you can probably try him. His L10 is going to be going down after this week, so we'll see how serious this toe injury is. Hero is a guy that does miss time, so that may be a pickup you want to take a look at. Jaime Jaquez. Other than that, not a lot of movement here production-wise. Jovic, Jaquez, both the main beneficiaries. Paolo Banchero has missed a bunch of games. He's available. So Banchero is back for the Magic. Now, the Magic have been playing better without him, so we'll have to see how that affects everything. Minutes look like they're pretty set here. Usage-wise, though, this is where it gets interesting. So Banchero, definitely a high-usage player. He's going to be on a minute restriction here, about 25. Normally would play more like 35, like a traditional starter. I think you may see a little different team, maybe some different rotations. But again, we don't have any concrete information with this starting lineup. Obviously, he takes the usage, and everybody else falls in line behind him. Not going to lie, I kind of like the way the Magic were playing without him. But he's obviously a very skilled player, and having him back should help their team if he can integrate himself into what they were doing without him. We got Spencer Jones questionable for Denver. Don't think that makes much of a difference. He did have a good game a couple games back. This is a guy that doesn't have any cards yet, so he's on our tracker, but he won't show up because no cards in the system. Denver's still without Braun, Gordon, and Strawther, like they have been for a number of games now. If Jones would miss 21 minutes, probably more for Bruce Brown, maybe even more Zeke Naji. The other starters are already playing big minutes, so it would be the bench guys that increased a little bit. Atlanta could be without Porzingis again. Now, I never count on Porzingis, especially when he's questionable. Even when he doesn't have an injury designation, sometimes he just randomly sits. So that's a guy I hate trying to count on for anything. Jalen Johnson's been spectacular. Obviously, if he can't go, that's big minutes. We got 60 minutes that could be up for grabs here in the front court for Atlanta. Could see more Risache. We could see more Okongwu. And when Okongwu gets into the low 30s, I kind of like him. Moge would move from 9 to around that 20 range probably if either or both of those guys are out. And the dreaded calf tightness for Johnson. He was seen getting some shots up. So the 3 games without him, Asa Newell actually getting quite a few minutes. 20. Interesting. And scoring about 25 points. So watch that Jalen Johnson news. If you have an Asa Newell, you got a 7L10. If Johnson sits, these guys put up some decent games, a 38 and a 43. So may want to give him an opportunity. But we'll watch for news on Jalen Johnson leading up to lock. And the Spurs, so Kelly Olynyk likely moving into the starting lineup. Now this is a guy that in previous seasons, good passer for a big, can grab you some rebounds, he can knock down threes, does a little of everything. He is getting older. Minutes, they're only giving him 18, which seems really low. I don't know really, do they have a whole lot behind him? Bismack Biyombo, they're only giving him 4 minutes. I just don't see much size on this team. They may end up putting Sohan at the 5. Now, Sohan's a guy that can play anywhere from point guard through center, but obviously he's not an ideal center. He doesn't have that typical center size, so they'd be running a really small lineup, but that may be what they end up doing. Starters all in the low 30s here, other than Olynyk, and I think Olynyk's 18 could be a conservative estimate by RotoWire. The Cavs, we have everything set. Allen still out, Garland out, Merrill out, Nance, Proctor, Strus. So we're looking at big minutes again for Mitchell and Mobley. This could be another game for Mobley where he can dominate the boards. Jalen Tyson's been very good. That L10's pretty high, though. Dean Wade likely getting another start. 26 minutes for him. Then we saw Thomas Bryant get hot last game. 6-minute estimate could be higher. Portland, Klingen's been dealing with an illness. Robert Williams is Robert Williams. He's always questionable. And Chris Murray now questionable. If Klingen would miss, 26 minutes to go to the likes of, well, if Williams is out too, Duop Reith, maybe even some, where's Hansen? Maybe in the G League, they may have to call him up. Not a lot of size on the Blazers behind Reith if Klingen can't go. And, of course, Williams questionable too. Just to give you an idea, the one game that he missed, minutes went to Robert Williams. But, of course, if Williams misses, you're looking further down the line. Production-wise, last game, Avdija was spectacular. But I don't think that has anything to do with Klingen being out. That's just a really good game from Avdija. Detroit could be without Duncan Robinson again. Marcus Sasser finally up to questionable. He hasn't played yet this year. Robinson, they're estimating about 20 minutes. If he can't go, you've got a lot of different wings that can step up. Holland, Ivy, LeVert, Vontae Green, Jenkins. So any of those guys would bump up a little bit. But your starters are pretty much set. Cade getting huge minutes. Tobias, Duran, Asar all around 30. And everybody else just picking up the slack. Nurkic questionable for Utah. He's been playing decent minutes. He's in the high 20s, so if he misses, looks like Kevin Love's probable. Love never would play more than 15. I think it's Filipowski who'd probably be the main beneficiary here if he would sit. Or they could elect to go very small, just not play a center. Ace Bailey just hasn't taken the leap that a lot of us hoped he would early in the season. He's had some flashes, but hasn't looked great. And Nurkic missed his first game of the season last night. Filipowski was the big beneficiary. Minutes-wise, he had 31. And production-wise, he scored 37. So, nice game for Filipowski without Nurkic on the floor. I would look for him if Nurkic would sit again. And at 24, not a great play, but not a terrible one either. The Knicks, OG is up to questionable. Shamet's still out. If OG would miss again, I think you're looking at a little more Mitchell Robinson. Starters for the Knicks under Mike Brown are playing a lot of minutes, just like they were for Tibbs. And this is a pretty good team. They just don't have a ton of depth. So without Anunoby, Miles McBride's been getting a lot of minutes. They've been going small. Josh Hart's been playing more. And production-wise, it's really been Hart who's been stepping up. 40 points a game for Hart in Anunoby's absence, but a pretty high L10 at 38, so probably not playable anyway. Charlotte has Ball probable, expect him to go. Miller questionable, which is surprising. Looked like he hyperextended his knee. I don't expect him to go, but he surprised me before. And Kalkbrenner has a left ankle contusion. He's missed a couple games. If he were to sit, Diabate gets more minutes, and Plumlee actually gets a few minutes. Production-wise, it's John Kneppel stepping up. Of course, that could be coinciding with Ball missing games too, so it's only 2 games. Not really a big enough sample size to garner anything from that. Projected minutes for the Hornets. course, you're going to have a lot to go around if Miller sits out, Kalkbrenner's out, and Trey Mann's even questionable off the bench. So you could see a decent amount of minutes for guys like Diabate, Sion James. Pirtle questionable for Toronto. I expect him back. I know he has a back injury, but this was deemed a rest game yesterday, so hopefully he's available for him today. If Pirtle would miss, I would expect Mamu to step up, and really only a couple more minutes for him. Bigger increase for Colin Murray-Boyles. As far as production goes, it's Colin Murray-Boyles getting over 20. When Pirtle is out, L10 at 12. So somebody who's at least in play if Pirtle would sit. For the Pacers, pretty much the same guys out who have been out. We pretty much know their rotations at this point. I still want McConnell's minutes in the high 20s, not the low 20s, but I don't always get what I want. He's been really productive when he's in there, and I would definitely give him another crack here. Not much else to look at on that page. Chicago, Kobe White questionable, Dosunmu questionable, Trey Jones doubtful, Jalen Smith doubtful, Kevin Huerter out. So we've got a lot going on with the Bulls. So let's take a look at some of these injuries. We got a calf injury for Kobe White, oft-injured guy. He's off to a good start this year, but again, missed the last 3 games. Dosunmu sprained his thumb, also questionable, and he's been playing big minutes with all their other injuries. So this could easily be the Giddey, Vooch, Buzelis show. Who steps up if Kobe White's out again? And Dosunmu, Patrick Williams, Puke. All right, Kevin Huerter, he's out. Dosunmu could be out. I don't know. I think it just goes for more offense for Giddey, more offense for Vooch, more offense for Buzelis if all these guys were to miss. Of course, we may or may not know anything ahead of lock. This is an 8 p.m. Eastern game. A lot of cards on the table here. Devin Booker is out for Phoenix. This is going to make things interesting. So Colin Gillespie's been playing really well. He gets to start now, 35 minutes. I think he's definitely in play. Even with that high L10, he's been pretty productive. Other starters remain pretty much the same. Jordan Goodwin's minutes are going to go up as a backup guard. Oso and Ryan Dunn, but they're only running, they're 9 deep here with Livers, and he's questionable. They don't really play the rest of these guys very much. Booker's going to be reevaluated in a week. So what about those minutes where Booker is off the floor? So we don't have a full game while he's off the floor, so we can look at something else. This is where I look at my on-off report. We just find Booker, we select him, and then we're going to view the stats while he's not on the floor, see who the most productive guys are. And it's Jalen Green, it's Dillon Brooks. Jalen Green's still out. Dillon Brooks has looked much better this year. A 40% usage rate for Dillon Brooks with Booker off the floor is insanely high, and it jumps 13 points when Booker's not on the floor. So Dillon Brooks really looks to take over. Grayson Allen's usage up, Gillespie up, obviously. So there are some guys to consider here. Dillon Brooks sitting at 32. I would expect him to get a lot of shots up tonight. He might be on your radar even at that high L10 for him. Colin Gillespie at 31, coming off of 50. I'd say he's in play. 34 seems a little high for Grayson Allen, considering he's been in and out with injuries himself. But he's certainly capable of big games every now and then. He did have a, 67 earlier this year. Even a guy like Royce O'Neal, who's pretty steady. A 23 L10 is low enough where I would consider him today. With Booker out, there's just going to be a lot more usage to go around. On to Houston. Pretty much the same guys out. Tari Eason, Finney Smith, and Van Fleet have been out for a while. Everybody else seems pretty healthy here. So you get Steven Adams back. He's going to come off the bench. Or at least they think he is right now. Josh Okogie in the starting lineup, but only getting about 15. Reed Shepherd still in the upper 20s. Aaron Holiday's playing quite a bit. He's still a lower L10 you could probably take a flyer on. Durant, Thompson, Şengün, and Jabari Smith all getting the big minutes. Not a ton to look at here. Philly, Paul George is questionable. I wouldn't expect Embiid to play ever, and especially when he's doubtful. Oubre and Watford both out. So if George can't go, I expect those minutes to go to McCain, Justin Edwards. Quentin Grimes already at 35 coming off the bench. Edgecombe, they're working back from injury, so he's on a pitch count here, it looks like. 25 minutes. Barlow should get some big run. Drummond had that injury scare, but I think he's all right now. I don't know that we have any great plays here. Here's the big one. Giannis is out. Giannis has missed a few games, and we talked about this a little bit in the chat, but just to go over some numbers with you, the big beneficiary for minutes has been Andre Jackson, which is a little strange. Jericho Sims gets a few more minutes. Don't really like either of them. Kuzma, 5 more minutes. He's up to almost 30. Let's take a look at production. It's been Ryan Rollins who's really stepped up without Giannis this year. In the 6 games without him, he's averaging about 46 points, 36 L10. This guy's hit 60. He's hit 50 earlier this season, but those games were both without Kevin Porter Jr. Kevin Porter Jr. has only played with Giannis, so we're going to dig deeper on this one. So if we take Giannis off the floor for the Bucks, who's the beneficiary? Mark Sears. I'm going to be honest with you, I live in the state of Wisconsin where the Milwaukee Bucks play basketball. I follow the NBA pretty closely. I don't know who Mark Sears is. Anyway, Ryan Rollins' usage without Giannis, 30.4. That's definitely in play. Kevin Porter, 30.8. Cole Anthony hasn't been playing much, but 28.2. He may see the floor a little bit. And where's Bobby Portis? Bobby Portis, 24.2, so it's up from where it has been most of the season when Giannis is not on the floor. Portis tends to step up. 2 to 4 weeks for Giannis, but at least he didn't tear his Achilles. And the minutes look like this. Rollins, Green, Turner, and KPJ all over 30. They got Kuzma at 23. I think he could be closer to 30. Portis should be around 30. So there are definitely some plays. Kuzma's kind of interesting for me. His L10 is going to be going down to 21 after lock tonight. So let's say he has a good game today, puts up a 45. You can pick up some cheap Kyle Kuzma's right now as a speculative ad. You might be able to turn him on Sunday and make a little profit. Now, that's a big if because it's Kyle Kuzma. He could put up a 0, but everybody always says not financial advice. Well, this is financial advice. I'd buy a couple of Kuzmas and take the shot at it because they're only a couple dollars a piece. LA Clippers, we got Jordan Miller questionable. I doubt he goes. Bogdanovich already ruled out. Chris Paul's gone. Derek Jones Jr.'s been out for a little bit. Minutes breakdown. Harden playing big minutes. Zubac's playing big minutes every night. Both have been pretty consistent. Harden had one real clunker, but he's good enough. I think you want him in there. Kawhi right around 30. Kawhi had a nice game last game, so I wouldn't hesitate to throw him in there again. Chris Dunn, John Collins been really underperforming most of the season. There's not a lot on this bench either. Clippers are just not a good team. 6-16. I heard John Morant is close, but he is still out today, which means we're going to see more Vince Williams point guard minutes, putting up some big assist totals. Coward's come back to earth a lot. Great start to the season. He just hasn't been as aggressive recently. Edey's been really stepping up since he got back. Still got Jaren Jackson disappointing everybody in our group. Jalen Wells, 29 minutes. And Aldama off the bench. Cam Spencer. Not a lot here. I think the L10s are all kind of at a level where none of these guys are really great plays anymore. Dallas hoping to get PJ Washington back. Gafford got hurt again yesterday. Left the game, didn't return. I don't think he plays tonight. He looked pretty injured. Washington, I think, turned his ankle in warm-ups a couple games ago. He's missed 3 now. How you get hurt in warm-ups is beyond me, but hopefully they can get him back. He's a pretty important piece for them. Well, let's say he didn't play. We've got 26 minutes to go around, and, of course, Gafford's minutes as well, so you could have up to 48 to give out. I think if either one of those guys miss, you get a little more from Najee Marshall, probably up into the 30 range. Lively's still out. Dwight Powell might see some time. So not a lot to look at here. Ryan Nembhard doesn't have a card. He's been kind of their breakout the last couple games. Obviously, Flagg and Davis can both play. And last but not least, the OKC Thunder. Going to be without Hartenstein again, Dort, and Caruso, so missing some wings and their big guy. Jalen Williams is back. Minutes are fine. Looks like a normal starter again. He looks good. Chet, I think, is an interesting play with Hartenstein out just because there's a bigger opportunity for him to grab rebounds. Wallace continues to start, and then A.J. Mitchell will be filling in. And A.J. Mitchell's a nice play, too. But again, those L10s are getting kind of high. Aaron Wiggins back from injury, back from missing quite a few games. And then Jalen Williams should see some extra minutes with Hartenstein out, Isaiah Joe, and even Kenrich Williams in the mid-teens here. And I think any of those guys, Kenrich Williams at 16 minutes, see where his L10 is. It's a 5. I think you can definitely play him. Jalen Williams is 17, so that's not as good. I would look at Kenrich Williams, give him a hard look. He's going to get that many minutes. He's worth a shot. All right, so there you have it. There's your breakdown of today's slate. Hope that helps. Let's go get it.